How are we looking, Sam? We're good? Good evening. It is Thursday, September 26th, 2024. It is 5:04 p.m. This is budget hearing number 1 to consider the proposed 2025 City of Binghamton budget. City Council is convened as a committee of the whole per the city charter with the finance chair, yours truly, Robert Kavanaugh, as the chair tonight. I would like to call this meeting to order, and will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the Republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Present.
Council President Matavetsky.
Present.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Present.
Thank you.
To kick things off, this is, I don't think it's been common practice in the past, but I asked that the comptroller please come down and give us a brief overview as we kick things off of the of where we get all of the money that we have to consider spending. So to please go over the revenue lines in the budget and how it balances out between our major sources of funding, the tax levy, the sales tax levy, state aid, etc. So welcome Chuck Robinson, the comptroller, to give us a little overview. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. This is going to be my first time doing this, so bear with me. Council, you had asked for a revenue overview. I'll go through the lines if you'd like me to. For the levy, our property taxes we levied at $34.9 million, which is about a 1% increase. Our sales tax, which is our next largest item, is at $16.4 million. That was a 4% increase over from last year. And our total state aid is about $11.4 million, which is about a 7% increase. Three of those numbers are 84% of our total budget in the general fund. The total revenue increase from 2024 to 2025 is about $3.5 million, which is a 5% increase. From the 2024 budget to the 2025 budget, the total levy last year was 49% of the budget. This year, it's only 47% of the budget. Sales tax was 23% of the budget. Now it's 22%. And state aid is 15%, and it stayed the same, 15% of the total budget. So we're using 3% less of those funds, and we're getting funds from elsewhere. There's some new items this year in the budget. One of them is our hotel motel tax that the state, I think, has passed or will pass. Has passed. And we also got an additional almost $1.1 million in AIM, which is aids to municipality, of about $1 million. It's a part of the state aid. Right now it's a one-time thing, but we don't know if it's going to continue next year, but we got it in 2025. So did you want me to go through line by line, and if you have any questions?
I have a few things that I have kind of highlighted to ask about, and I know we discussed a couple of them, but I think
Right.
Just to bring it out in public, our Comptroller Shager was kind of very proud of the fact that he kept underestimating sales tax revenue every year. We have, it seems like, incorporated a $640,000 increase to that estimated revenue over 2024, and we think that's
Yes, that was
in line and justified with.
Absolutely. That was based on a state aid estimate and what we're receiving so far this year. We've received over 50%, a little over 50%, half of our sales tax already. We get it in quarterly payments. So we haven't gotten our third quarter payment yet, but we're at like 53%, if I'm not correct. We're pretty close.
Without the third quarter coming in.
Yes.
Then another one is the, I should be getting the habit of reading out lines, I guess. A41116, which is the tax on adult use cannabis, which has been under $50,000 the last couple of years, was in at $200,000. We're not going to meet that this year. And it's proposed slightly less for next year, but still a large chunk more than we've ever collected at 175,000.
Yes, we anticipate with the increased what do you call it, monitoring of the offsites that are selling it, and maybe get some more cannabis businesses in, we can increase that revenue.
Then for everyone that's keeping up in their budgets, I had forgotten the franchise tax is what we charge Spectrum for use for their agreement with us for use of lines and everything.
Yes.
Let's.
Do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
My question regarding the sales tax is there any notable source where you do see where the increase is? Like, I know it's increasing overall, but is there an identifiable area that's driving that?
No, it's just basically an estimate overall from the state.
Thank you.
The next kind of large increase is in A41640, which is the ambulance charges. And I think we can, I think there's an answer to that in the fee structure, but would you like to explain?
Right. The ambulance charges have been pretty much steady over the past few years. We are doing a slight increase in the ambulance charges, but that's not going to affect the fees too much because that basically just affects the Medicare portion of our reimbursements.
So, I mean, we've collected significantly less than half the estimates so far this year. Do those reimbursements tend to lag? Or?
Yes, they do. They're based on dates of service. So we get paid usually 2-3 months down the road. So we're usually collecting and doing accruals back through March.
Okay. A41741 parking meter fees. Again, that's a significant increase over what was in 2024 and what was collected in 2023. But I think we're increasing parking fees, a proposed increase to parking meters. So
yes, we also are doing that. And we also have later on in the budget, we have 2 new parking meter checkers that will help increase revenue.
Which takes us to my next line, which is A42610A, which is parking ticket fines, which are, I think we managed to collect 437,000 in 2023. And we're expecting to collect 525 next year. So, and it doesn't look like we're going to collect our 600,000 this year.
Yes.
But again, we have that additional person coming on.
Yes, that's those are for basically parking tickets for like alternate street parking and what have you. And we've been having, for lack of a better term, global warming. So we've had less snow. So people tend to move their cars more when it's not snowy. But if it's snow, they leave their cars on the road and we give them tickets.
I think a good place to maybe actually go kind of line by line and give us a quick explanation is on page 12, explain the interfund revenues and how they work, how the city pays itself for its own services sometimes.
Okay, the interfund revenues. I think I sent a fund. Did I send a fund analysis like to tell you how the funds work? Each of the
Yes.
funds, okay.
The different, yes.
So basically, a lot of this is associated with the other funds. So go to the bottom, the refuse funds, that's the support that the general fund provides to the refuse fund for the collection of the garbage bags. Parks and Parks Rangers, that is that's with economic development to pay for the park rangers. It's to help the park rangers when they work in the Parks Department. A lot of these, the PHCD, those for planning, housing, and community development. It's basically the general funds being reversed. They pay the general fund for the general fund help paying for some of those salaries. Same thing with finance. It's the finance portion of them helping out their fund.
And then the WS ones are the water and sewer fund.
Yes.
Right? That's
For the waters. And you'll see those fund, you'll see the corresponding expenses.
Oh, and then the state aid line A43,001 is 0 so far this year. Does that all come in at the end of the year? Is that how state aid
Yes.
functions?
We just 700,000, and we get the remainder in December, right before we make our state aid or retirement payment.
Isn't that funny how that works? All right, that's kind of my revenue questions. Does anyone else have revenue line questions or kind of the inflow money questions? Thoughts or feelings or concerns? No? Okay, thank you so far, Chuck, and we'll be seeing a lot of you over the next few days. But
I will be.
sitting right there is where you're. Okay. Sort papers. Okay, I would like to welcome to the podium Treasurer Lawrence Harris to go over the Treasury Department budget. So we're going to open pages 21 and 22 of the budget, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. You hear me okay? 2025 budget is $440,189.07. It is a 4.14% increase over 2024. Some of the highlights you'll see in there, our overall budget is a 4.14% increase, mainly consisting of the treasurer position salary increase in the amount of $16,780 over previous year. We have no additions to staff or capital expenditures for 2025. Office supplies, there basically no change in that budget line. That consists mainly of water bill stock and late fee paper stock. Printing, slight increase due to increased costs to us. And those are costs of the envelopes for our water sewer late fee mailings. Parking kiosk fees / services, no change there. Professional services, which is FBS, which is our parking ticket system, no change. And then under equipment repairs and maintenance, we did add $500 for the shared printer repair expense based on our experience in the past 3 months. We've had 2 service calls. So we're trying to be proactive. And those are my highlights for the 2025 budget.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead. Councilwoman Midley.
I was just wondering, about the office supplies, like, is it? You don't ask for more money for that?
Based on what we expect from a budget perspective, we're not asking for any increase. We have sufficient, in the budget this year.
Okay.
Thank you.
You mean like, is there a
Yeah.
contract where we're locked into the same prices?
We're not locked in
Yeah.
and we're not locked in, but I know when we do go out, our purchasing officer agent, finds the best price. So we're comfortable at that level.
Not through like a contractor.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No. Thank you.
I noticed there was no training in the budget.
Actually took the words.
Is there a reason for that?
So I would say from a training perspective, most of it's internal training, cross training, for separations of duties. There's not a tremendous amount of training that's available outside for the clerk role. So we're really focusing in 2025. We have newer clerks, more on development within the organization and cross training.
So do you want to put in like a line?
I'm comfortable with where we are right now. We talked about that when we had our budget meetings.
Yeah, I'm curious to know more about the responsibility adjustment for the principal clerk. I saw that was also included in last year's budget. How's that being?
Yeah, so that was in place. We had a position open in the water department. So the clerk in the treasurer's office took some of that responsibility with the water bills. So they're performing tasks that position that was not replaced in the water department. They're performing those tasks within the treasurer's office.
And this is going to be semi-permanent or permanent?
I think it's on I would say for 2025, it's not a permanent adjustment.
No, that contract's in negotiations.
Okay.
I'm curious what structurally changed. I see back in 2023, there was a overtime, but there hasn't been for the last 2 years, predicted for next year and for this past year. What structurally changed that you don't need overtime?
So I would say, I've been only in the role for 3 months. So based on my experience, I would say is really, the way that the leadership manages the team and making sure people are able to get their work done in the time provided. I can't speak for 2022 or 23, but I can speak to, what I expect in 24 and in 2025. And I don't know if anybody else, wanted to chime in. There may have been some staffing challenges, which I know there were in the office. So there were some shortages that may have contributed to overtime in the past, but we're fully staffed.
Okay. So your professional services line, 81325, 54410, the parking ticket system is referring to parking kiosks, correct?
Yes.
Not the police ticket writing system.
Yes, correct.
That's a distinction, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And this is a negotiated contract that is at a flat rate or based on usage or?
You're referring to professional services?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on contract. That contract was renewed in 23 and it ends in 26. And that's through Fundamental Business Systems or Business Services, excuse me.
And are they do business as Flowbird or whatever? That's their.
Correct.
We are adjusting up the credit or the parking fees again to, I think, 75 cents an hour is proposed from 50 cents. But we have in here this very large credit card fee bill we pay yearly. It's at $43,900.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming more and more people are using that system. Is this a good estimate going forward? Are we building in enough padding into is our increase big enough?
I would say based on my experience, and I would defer to Chuck also, I think based on my experience and what I've seen, I think it's a fair estimate. I don't expect, a tremendous increase. And Chuck, I would think you would agree with that.
Yeah, it's based on past usage, and we also take into account the students that ebbs and flows from spring to fall semester and increased students population. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had just throwing this out there, back when you had coin operated parking meters going from 50 cents to 75 cents, I mean, it's an extra quarter that makes sense, but when you're on an app with nice little timer, maybe 20 cents every 15 minutes makes sense. So we could go to 80 cents an hour.
Right.
I don't know. I'm, just a thought. I think that credit card thing is just going to continue to climb in usage. Oh. Yes, but that. Training. Anyone else have any more questions? Any more amendments? Anything?
I've got a question while we're on the parking kiosks. We went over budget by 10 grand in 2024. Is that where did we, again, I know that you're new to this position, but just like why did that happen, I guess?
I'm gonna defer to Chuck a little bit
Okay.
on that. The question was in 2024 on the kiosk, we were over, coming in over budget. We're at 170, where are we? 184.
So the 2024 adopted was 174. We adjusted to 184. We've already encumbered 180. So I'm guessing we're going to go somehow blow by the 184.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I would probably have to look that up and see what amendments increased the budget for that year.
All right. But our proposed is back down to 174 again. So
Right. It could have been, if any of those fees were in a purchase order, it could have been a carryover purchase order from the previous year that increased the budget.
So how comfortable you are staying with your proposal?
Well, that would have been a previous expense from the previous year that was budgeted, and then it just got paid in the next year on a purchase order. It has to come forward as a budget. Increase the budget.
So we wouldn't expect that again.
Right.
Okay.
And I did find the answer for your overtime question. Who had the overtime question? Okay, when the person from the water department, the meter department left, the treasurer's department had a lot of catch-up work to do. And at first they had to do overtime until they could get that responsibility adjustment put into place because it's for the same person.
Yeah, I'm looking at, sorry, I'm stuck on this, but now I look back the year before, and it seems like we didn't make an adjustment to the parking and kiosk fee service, and we were 20 grand over budget. So maybe we're getting closer to what the adopted budget was, but we're not quite there. So I don't know. I can't figure out where the extra expense is coming from. But we can move on.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to move pages 21 and 22.
All right, there's a motion on the table to pass pages 21 and 22. Is there a second?
I had a question before we make that motion. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know if there's anything that you proposed in this budget that you didn't receive, or is there anything that you think you need in the coming year?
No,
Okay,
no, but thank you for asking.
no problem.
So back to the
Sorry,
motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second now.
Okay. And we have to do these by roll call. All right. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Okay, 2 down, 232 left to go.
Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Treasurer Harris. Now I'd like to bring down City Engineer Ron Lake to discuss the engineering budget. We will open pages 33 and 34, and we will open the engineering portion of the capital improvements page of 225. Hello, Mr. Lake.
Good evening.
All right. Would you like to begin with an overview of your budget and any significant changes?
Sure, I'll give you an overview of page 33 to start with.
Yes.
Under personal services, you'll notice that there's a new position created, which is for another PE to assist me. And the money from the engineering technicians has been used that we can't hire people for. Probably due to salaries that people I interview don't want to come for that. So this is hopefully we could get that and it'll help us do more services. We can do a little more design work and save some money on consultant fees. Our overtime is down. We've been able to decrease it over the last couple of years. So I think that's good, and we can drop that slightly. Professional services, there's no change from last year's budget. What was spent above budget this year was due to payments for the architect for the Water Street garage. Under street repairs, there's really no change. The line is budgeted at 0, and it has been for years, because that work is now included under the capital improvement budget on page 225. Subs and dues memberships, there's a slight decrease based on our past spending, so I dropped that a little bit because we haven't been using it, and we can still get the training we need. All the remaining budget lines are staying flat, including office equipment, supplies, printing, uniforms. They're all the same. Do you have any questions on page 33? There are no increase in salaries. They're all flat.
Hi, Ron. Do you have somebody that you're identified that would start on 4/1, or is that just your optimistic date?
No,
for your?
if you've approved it, we'll start looking.
Okay.
There's technical services got adjusted up in 2024 to 71,500. It's line 1445 4420. We've encumbered only 34,000 of that, and you've come down to your the 2025 proposes 39.5. Just is there the rhyme and reason behind technical services changing?
Oh, you're on the next page. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on 34.
For the technical services, part of that again was the adjusted overage was for the consultant for the ramp on Water Street.
Ramp
garage.
consultant. Okay.
And that's why we can come back down. We won't have that next year.
All right. And then what is this general infrastructure improvement that's $5,500? What comes out of that line?
If we have just a little project or something that's not in one of our other budgets, where we can do some small project. And it might be for any department that I can use it for. Doesn't necessarily be engineering, it could be for parks or public works, because we help each other out.
Going back to page 33, it seems like you've been doing an excellent job controlling temporary services and overtime. And with your additional deputy engineer coming in, is there a little more wiggle room in those lines, do you think?
I'd hesitate to say until I see what happens. There might be, but we've certainly created some efficiencies there in the last couple of years.
Okay.
With the uniforms, is that something that it's like planned out over a certain number of years, like things expire and there certain items are turned over each year, or?
Yeah, because of the number of people, there's some people, their gear lasts longer than others but most of them need to get boots every year. And then the raincoats and the vests and things like that. When they're out of construction, they get beat up pretty quickly.
So I think overall, I think you might be the only department that's trying to propose a shrinking budget. But that's comes after you went a little bit over this past year. That's all due to the Water Street project?
Both of those are, yes.
Okay. So.
Anyone else have any further questions?
Is there a reason that you weren't able to or that you're proposing less money for training? Like last year, you ended up with a lot more training than,
We did, but part of that was AutoCAD training. And I put one of our engineers in a new position for MS4 last year. And I needed to get him trained, so there was more training necessary last year. But they still do need to get training. They have to be trained every 3 years for construction to meet the MS4 requirements. So some years I'm going to use a little more than others. And then some years I need more for my PE credits than other years too.
I'll make the motion to move pages 33, 34, and 225.
Oh, we haven't done 225 yet. I hope there's not a second for that motion.
No.
Okay, so we want to move to capital. Page 225, please.
So I guess we can start under the information technology, engineering, hardware. And that's some money we set aside. It's been doing it for, I guess, a number of years. to replace our plotter and our copier. It's a costly item and it gets used every day. And that's that 8,000 there.
So I understand that literally your department has been setting aside a bit of money every year in the budget for this.
Yes,
Yes.
we had to purchase a new one, I believe it was last year, so the money was there and we could do it.
Okay. So I applaud the planning ahead.
Yeah, that's the only item that we do that for. But it's an expensive item. Then we can move down to engineering. And if we look at the street reconstruction, mill and pave, ADA, water lines, sewer lines, those are all what we do every year. And that's part of our mill and pave program is that in the past, we used up all the easy streets that we could just go in and mill and pave. And now we're getting to the hard streets that require sewer work, water work, storm and sanitary separation. So it's getting a lot harder to keep within these numbers. We could use everything we could get in those numbers to keep the city infrastructure in place.
So how are you looking this year so far?
We're
What
gonna,
you thought, where you thought you would get compared to where you've been able to get?
we this year, I think we were gonna be able to complete the streets that we originally had scheduled. We might miss out one or two as we're getting close to the end. But in terms of being able to, with this number, in terms of being able to do the water and sewer and separation work, we're gonna make it this year.
Okay.
And it depends, we work with the numbers that you give us, and then we figure out which streets, how many streets we can do.
So the grant money for
Oh, gonna have that.
mill and pave ADA and such, that's federal highway money, right? CHIPS money?
That's all CHIPS money.
Okay.
Yes,
And has that stayed consistent? How do we get that calculation every year or?
there is a DOT every year sends municipalities the amount that they're gonna receive. And it's based on your lane miles. And so that usually comes in April or May. And then we know how much we have, but it's gonna run hopefully around 4 million total. Because what you don't see here is the mill and pave money that's also used for that.
All right, so I mean, we see 1.76 and 2 in the under grants. You're saying there's another chunk of grant money?
Yeah, what you see here is was it 2.5 or something? 3.4. And there might be another 1 million to that, which comes from a different program other than CHIPS. But I don't know what it's gonna be, and we don't know until the allocation comes in.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, so that's reconstruction, mill and pave, ADA, water lines, sewer lines. Now we're down to flood wall levy. That's the levy flood wall work we're doing behind Binghamton Plaza?
No,
No.
this is levee work all around the city that's been noted by Army Corps and DEC. And it comes under our maintenance jurisdiction. And we're required to make those repairs. And that's what that's for.
So this is a specific set of projects for next year or just what we think is coming down the road, depending on who picks up on
Now,
what?
we have projects in the mill that if approved by DEC, because everything we do, we have to send out for approval. So if it's approval, we'll use just about that amount. We've been carrying that for like 2 years,
Waiting on approvals.
waiting on approval. Our design consultant is waiting for answers from DEC and the Army Corps.
All right, then specific engineering or feasibility studies we're looking at?
the feasibility studies are typically what we do when we know that we have a major problem somewhere. For instance, one of our pump stations or something like Tompkins Street. We use that to get an engineering report so that we can try to get funding from EFC. And we do those engineering studies.
Parking ramp inspections and improvements. So we have one almost brand new parking ramp, one soon to be brand new parking ramp. So I'm assuming we're spending most of this on the State Street ramp. That's
The State Street ramp, all three ramps are going to need to be inspected this coming year. And State Street ramp, we already have some deficiencies that we need to get out to bid and take care of. Just to keep it going a few more years.
right.
So would that $250,000 be sufficient to cover the deficiencies, do you think? Are you just doing an inspection to find?
I think it's gonna cover what we know right now.
Okay.
The next inspection might uncover more.
The Henry Street reconstruction, the mayor covered somewhat in his budget address. Is there anything you want to add to that or to how, or maybe Chuck wants to jump in into how we spend, it's a $9.5 million project, how we're spending what we have to borrow short term versus when things get reimbursed by the federal government and such. This is a $5 million federal grant in addition to what we have to commit.
So do we have to spend it first in order for it to match, or how does that?
Typically on all the things we get, it's spent first and then
They
we
bring it.
just submit the payments and receive
Okay.
the grant.
Sorry.
I don't know of any that we get the money up front.
Okay.
Shucks.
There's very few we get upfront.
And then we are updating our parking study, apparently.
Hang on,
Okay.
before we move on, is there any a timeline that we have to spend the 5 million from Congressman Molinaro? Or is that just a?
The engineering for Henry Street is being done now, should be finished by the end of the year, I hope. And I think construction will start next year, mid-year, and so that money will be used shortly.
And I'm sorry with that, how is that project decided on? Like, how does that come about? Like, with that
Henry Street,
Henry Street? Yes.
it was part of the Marabito Stadium or the Ball Street area. I think there's an improvement district for the stadium area. And Henry Street became part of that. So what that'll do is improve that whole neighborhood. Henry Street will be completely redone. With the housing projects that are going up there, there'll be much better walking conditions. There'll be bicycle lanes. There'll be different things, different amenities that go well into that neighborhood as it progresses. And I believe that 5,000 was a grant that was secured by the mayor.
5 million.
5
5
million?
million.
5 million.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry.
All right. So we did downtown parking study in 2017
That's an update to the last.
or 18, maybe is the last one?
The last one I think was 16.
16. Okay.
And what is it? What is it? Like, what is it? Like, what's the goal of the study?
The goal is for us to figure out if we need parking, where do we need it? Or can we do something better than we're doing now to get downtown parking?
So sometimes when we do a study like that, there's a goal. If we do this, if we have this piece of information, we can apply for this grant or this type of funding. when we've just built 2 parking ramps, how much more major parking things are we going to be able to undertake?
Well,
Not that I'm generally against getting more
we-
information, but
We've just built 2, but our third one is on its last legs, so do we rebuild that or do we have enough or? So I think that's what we need to know.
okay. A valid answer. Demolitions. $2 million for demolitions.
And that basically is for Binghamton Plaza.
We don't have a estimate, or we haven't purchased that yet. I know that's part of the whole eminent domain proceeding. So
I understand
Speaking
it's that we will. I don't think the judge has given it to us yet, but we expect them to. I wish we had it now because I could use it while we're repairing that trail behind Binghamton Plaza.
Oh, you could get 2 birds with 1 stone, sort of, get that
Yeah,
regraded and
I'd like
fixed
to
with
be
the
able to
same
use some of that parcel while we're working.
timing
And,
sometimes.
and you expect that to happen next year, like the demolition for that?
I expect it to happen not too long after the city acquires it.
So Chuck, so when we authorize these capital expenditures in the budget, they become part of what you're going to ban for in January. But you don't necessarily go for all of it at once. So say Henry Street reconstruction doesn't look like it's going to start till June. Do you sit on that money for 6 months
We
or?
don't have to borrow all of it. No, we don't have to borrow all that you've authorized. You'd authorized a certain amount, but we can borrow, X amount of dollars if that's what he's going to spend that year. We'd rather borrow what he's going to spend
Right. So we trust you to be
on top of it.
prudent and on top of it, right?
I had a question about the equipment. Do you know how much it would cost if like we bought our own instead of using other like companies, like a private company to handle that?
To do the demolition,
Mm-hmm.
well, then we would also have to. You still have to have the inspections and you gotta go through the asbestos and the lead parts.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I meant
We
for
don't-
the mill and pave. I'm sorry.
Oh, for mill and pave. We get that under the county price. And I don't know if we could do it any cheaper in-house. We don't have the machines.
But if we bought them, do you?
Then we have to have people to run them and that salary goes on through the winter when we're not using them. Some of these things are better if we just pay for them during the season.
DPW just purchased a roller, so they can help do the mill and pave with that. We do have some equipment.
Thank you.
Actually, we'll take all the equipment you'll give us.
Yes, we do. That's not not on the pages. Okay.
So just like a general feeling about these infrastructure projects is that I think we are on a trend where we're continuing to borrow and we continue to increase the total amount of our debt service that we're paying every year. I just looked back like about 4 years around there, it was at our debt service was at 5.5 million, and now we're creeping up to 8 million, and we're going to be borrowing more for infrastructure projects than we did last year by about $3 million. And that I don't think that's a great trend. It doesn't seem like it's sustainable. And some of these bands have like really high interest, so we're paying like double the principal. Am I like reading that correctly?
Not sure where you're looking at, but
Okay.
but for the bands being increased, yes, because we had the $19 million Water Street garage, that was a big hit right there. So that's just a one-time thing, raised our band. And
Okay.
but we'll go long-term on it. I can talk about that during the debt service portion.
Yeah, and I should probably get with you to talk about it more, but it's just
Absolutely.
overall that trend is concerning to me, and it makes me want to not necessarily try to tackle all of these projects simultaneously within
Yeah.
this next year. I'm not sure which ones to take out or
Mhm.
potentially reduce. I think we're being a little bit kind of a cart in front of the horse situation with the planned demolitions for the Binghamton Plaza.
Yeah.
I think there should be a little bit more planning about
Mhm.
what the
Next step.
what cleanup might have to happen, what they're looking for like redevelopment, and all the other costs that will be associated with that. That's just my general feeling about the overall picture of these infrastructure costs and the associated debt that will come with them. I think they're like exciting, and I know we also have the Washington Street reconstruction. I don't know where
Yeah,
that fits in.
Echo 2 will happen this year or next year.
Yeah, so there's a lot of big reconstruction projects, but it's
And we have Main Street that is mostly funded by DOT next year too.
that's less concerning if it's mostly funded by DOT and it's not, and we're not borrowing to cover the costs.
We
But the,
pay 500,000 out of about 3 million.
gotcha. So that's just my
4.2 million, I think it is. And we pay 500,000. Which is a good deal to get that done.
right. But some of the other ones, I don't know. I want to think through them more. But that's my overall worry.
I agree with him too, with the Binghamton Plaza, 2 million. I feel like that's just, without a solid plan, just a demolition, it's kind of worrisome.
Okay. So
Sure. Thank
Deputy
you.
Mayor, if you wanna come-
Thank you.
So Councilman Hotchkiss, to your point about the increase this year, 2 million of it is coming from that demolition for Binghamton Plaza. And like, as you can imagine, clearing that plaza, which is in the condition that it is and has been for years, is the first step to get it shovel ready for development. And I'm sure the mayor is happy to talk more about this specifically too. He has a lot of thoughts on it. So he'd be happy to meet with anyone interested in talking about that parcel and the plans and vision for that area. But demolishing the building next year is the first step in getting it cleaned up and shovel ready for development.
I think, yeah. So I took the property manager up on his offer to tour me through everything, and there's buildings like, yeah, some of them are in rough shape, but they're salvageable, and some of them are. And if they fit into a broader redevelopment plan, I think the reworking what's there could potentially lower the costs for future development. And then there's also a consideration about there's businesses that are still there, and it represents about I think like 60-ish jobs. But how that plays into this whole picture, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and the thing about the businesses that are there currently comes up a lot, and we've been adamant that, like, our economic development office, the mayor's office, we're more than willing to work with all those businesses to make sure they're relocated within the city to spaces that are in better condition, maybe a better location for them. We've been in talks with some of them. But yeah, it's certainly, there's only a handful left, and we want to make sure that they're all relocated and would be in a good place moving forward.
No. I'm just agreeing with Councilman Hotchkiss that I don't really feel comfortable with that 2 million. I understand, like I see it every single day at work. So I understand that it is an eyesore and it needs to be taken down, but 2 million when I feel like there's other things that we could be capitally approving on. But I'll talk to him about that. Sure.
So it's, as a ban, it's an authorization to borrow, not something we're running out to borrow. But having said that, we could still not close the capital engineering page.
Okay.
When that comes up for a vote in a minute,
Okay.
if you want to put a pin in it and have a little bit further discussion.
Okay.
So not on the pages that was on the agenda, but something we do have to do is look at engineering fees, which is pages 228 and 229. So can we open those pages? So Ron, I think you talked about the increase in right-of-way work and openings and increased burden on your department from those.
We did, and some of these fees we increased a little bit last year and some more this year. The problem is that we're now being inundated with permits, especially from Greenlight, NICEAG, and this year has been just, they come in and get 20, 30 permits at a time. And so a lot of these permits are issued on overtime because there's so many of them. And I have to have that out doing construction when we're doing the sidewalks and the ADAs. And so I just think that because it is a lot of work now, that we need to up those just a little bit more.
Okay. I don't think you're upping them enough. Would you would you object to an amendment that's a little bit higher for them? I mean,
Yeah, you would not object.
I mean, it's taking time and causing overtime in your department, and I think you've asked for a very modest increase.
Should we go with this? And then if I think we need more, I'll come back next year and raise them again.
I mean, I would say I would like to amend, at least let's get an even $100 for every one of these. So the 90s to 100, the 180 to 200. And then, so those are the rights of way openings and stuff. And then what is the sign permit or the sign fee?
That would be fine.
Okay. Okay, I would like to motion to increase work within right of way not involving excavation from $90 to $100.
Second.
Can we do them as a group? Okay. Okay. Motion by me, seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. Would you call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costy.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Okay, I would like to motion to work within the ROW involving utility pole relocation be increased from $90 to $100.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky. Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costy.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay, I would like to motion to increase the fee for work within ROW not involving excavations not exceeding 18 inches in depth and not in pavement from $90 to $100.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Councilman Middleton. Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky, Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss, Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
I would like to motion to amend the work within ROW not involving excavations not in pavement and exceeding 18 inches in depth from the proposed $180 to $200.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Councilman Middleton. Would you please call the roll?
Member Porter is absent.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's
I would-
5-0.
Like to turn to page 229 and motion that the signs fee be increased from the proposed $90 to $100.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay. Now, having said that, I have faith that the new engineering position in the department can, with continued efficiencies and maybe even aided by the slight changes we've just made, I have confidence that the engineering department is going to be able to hold its overtime budget low. So I would propose moving $5,000 from.
Let me explain a little bit about
Okay.
the overtime. If they're required to work overtime in most of the instances, we can bill the contractor for that time. But we still have to, it still comes out of this fund to pay them. But we do get the city reimbursed for a lot of it.
Yes, I understand that you still ended up under significantly what I'm proposing to lower it to, and I assume we would be amenable to making a change if necessary. But it seems like you've been working well under this threshold for a while.
Yeah.
So with that, I would like to motion to move $5,000 from engineering overtime line A1440.51900 to contingency. I don't have the contingency line at hand. Chuck? Sure.
So if you look at what they expended, the year prior in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more in line with what engineering expects to spend on
It
overtime.
came close, but still under.
And they are decreasing it. They're bringing it down from 34,000 to 30 already. But I just wanted to make sure that you saw in 2023, they were pretty much right where we're budgeting them at 30,000.
I do.
Okay.
I'll second the chairman's motion.
We need the contingency line number, please. Yeah, I'm looking. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't look it up before. Oh, we don't need the number? Okay, we apparently don't need the number. It goes right to contingency.
Yeah, go straight.
All right, Councilman Costi seconds my motion. Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
That was my big move. Anyone else have any further questions or amendments? Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to move pages 33, 34
As amended, perhaps?
as amended.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Costi,
Second.
second by Councilman Hotchkiss. Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky, Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Somebody needs to start timing you with the stopwatch. Thank you very much, Engineer Lake. Appreciate it.
We didn't do the capital.
Sure. All right. We need one more motion for the fee schedule, please. 228 and 229.
Specific line numbers because
The
it's only,
engineering lines of the fee schedule on page 228 and 229. Councilman Hotchkiss.
I'd like to make motion to adopt page 228 as amended and 229 as amended.
the engineering lines of it.
Engineering line in 228 and 229.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor from Councilman
Second.
Hotchkiss. There's a motion on the floor from Councilman Hotchkiss to approve the engineering fee schedules on page 228 and 229 as amended, seconded by Councilman Costi. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
So for the record, there has not been a motion to close the capital improvements page in 225. So that will remain open. Okay, next we'd like to call down the Parks and Recreation interim director still, I guess, Nicholas Ballard. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
So I have seen them chunk these out in different ways. How do you want us to open them?
As you can see, we got a rather large budget here, so I was just gonna go through and highlight some of our changes we made to it.
Okay, so I guess
guess
we
we
will
start
open
right
the
here.
whole thing. So we will open Parks and Rec admin, pages 86 and 87, Parks pages 88 to 91, Playground and Rec Centers, page 92, Beaches and Pools, page 93, Youth Program, page 94, Adult Rec, page 97, the Senior Center, page 98, 99, and we'll leave capital improvements for now.
Okay, we'll start right off with page 86 for our Parks and Recreation administration lines. A70205100, we're gonna create a new senior recreation leader position. It'll increase her salary by $5,000, and we're gonna unfund our current recreational leader position.
What happened?
We did increase our office supplies line slightly. Kind of anticipating on using a little extra office supplies for the new rec center.
Can I stop you for one quick second?
Sure.
So we have in your budget, the pools are kind of broken out, the senior center is kind of broken out. I was wondering if it would not be a good idea and a nice way to track everything if we broke the new rec center out to its own page. Has that been discussed? Comptroller, do you have an opinion? I just think
Yeah.
it'd be nice to start fresh and keep that separate. I don't know how everyone feels though.
Yeah, I think that'll be something that will be in next year's budget because we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. From the cost, right? We know that we're gonna have to move someone there. We know we're gonna have to hire someone. We know that there's gonna be some after school programming, some evening, so it's gonna be open close to 12 hours a day. But we're gonna operate basically on current people right now. And since we knew we were gonna do this, we've been purchasing equipment for it, so we're not gonna have a big equipment purchase coming in anytime soon. So in the future for next year's budget, that'll certainly be its own thing. Yeah.
It'll have its own line.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, continue.
We didn't really have any other changes in our administration lines. So I guess I'll move on to the Parks Garage.
Sure.
We unfunded a parks maintainer, our third parks maintainer position. With anticipation of hopefully getting a ninth labor position in 2026. To help the budget. We decreased our overtime line by $8,000. This was just based on usage of this year as far as we are now. We're hoping to save a little money in 2025. We increased our equipment line slightly. That's kind of an annual thing. Our equipment's put through the ringer with the guys, so they work hard and the equipment's used daily. Even though we use commercial equipment, it still gets whooped on, so we have to replace it.
Items
Um,
looked pretty rusty when I visited.
Say that
I
again.
said items looked pretty rusty when I visited
Oh, yeah.
last summer.
Yeah. Codes didn't help. So our big one, as you all know, was our chemicals. So we had again, I've probably said it a million times, but we had a great year. So we did use a lot of chlorine this year. So we did increase our budget for $15,000 for that in hopes to remedy that for 2025.
Are there signs of, has chlorine stabilized?
Amex pretty much said that it's going to be about the same, right?
Sorry, I haven't been in direct contact with them. They were the same price at the start of the year before we purchased chlorine, and they've maintained the past 9 months. So we expect them to hopefully level out, definitely not go down, but level out.
Have you ever looked at any like alternatives to chlorine for pools? I know I've been in like salt pools that have I don't know if that's.
We
I don't
would
know
have
if
to
it's
completely
cheaper.
change over our filtration systems to look into alternative chemicals, but we would need a supplier on demand. Each pool needs chlorine at different times. Like MacArthur Pool is an eighth of the size of Rec, so that pool will run out of chlorine quicker than this pool. So we can't do one big bulk order from outside of the area. We need them to be at will call whenever we need chlorine and our tanks run out. So we'll have an order to MacArthur on a Thursday, and then we'll have an order to Rec on the next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Moving on, we did increase our uniforms line by 260, which isn't much. That's tied to the union contract. It's just providing our staff with t-shirts, hats, and whatnot. We increased our building and equipment improvements, maintenance line by $4,300. We're going to use this to upgrade, repair all of our parks buildings. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done with them. Roofs that need to be replaced. Soffit exterior of the buildings are rotting away, so we definitely need to repair a lot of facilities.
So you hopped right over the gas, heat and electricity lines. You've got them maintaining with some of the other departments. We've seen pretty big increases being anticipated with rate hikes for NYSEG. Is that just?
It seems to me like we're on track for this year, pretty good. And now with sports winding down that are in the evening hours, baseball, softball's winding down. We use a lot of electricity for our stadium lights and whatnot. So I think it'll back off a little bit. I think we should be pretty close.
We have a Constellation agreement, so that the rates for Constellation are going to stay constant for the next 3 years, two more years. So the Constellation part of the electricity bills are going to be maintained for the next 2 years. So that's why we can keep these pretty steady. Electricity as a whole, for all the departments, you add them all up, they're pretty much steady from last year to this year. Some departments use a little bit more electricity year to year.
Moving to our playgrounds and the rec center, that we did add in 2 new lines for gas and electric over at the rec center. 'Cause obviously, we're gonna have to heat them and use electricity.
So will those come under the contracts now that they're city-owned properties?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Will they come under the Constellation contract now that they're city-owned properties?
So we'll put them on there.
Okay. And then, I don't want to steal your thunder, Councilman Hotchkiss. Okay, Councilman Hotchkiss made the point to me earlier that, the building has probably been underutilized in the last several years and maybe not using as much light and heat as it will be when we're using it 12 hours a day. So are these estimates a little too conservative, or have you adjusted for those?
Yeah.
So the first thing is the gas will be lower, right? Because they leave the pilot lights on in the kitchen at all times and whatnot. We've already shut those off, so that'll come down. That, according to them, when I spoke to them, that was their major expense. The lighting, when they were running at full capacity, looking at what it is, how much it costs now versus when they were running at full capacity, that was their estimate.
Okay.
So we weren't going off just an underutilized building. We were going off when it's used. What's the monthly, right? During their bizarre times, right? So what is their monthly around those times? So that's what we based it on.
Very good.
And most of the facility has also been upgraded to LED lighting. So we should save a little bit there.
Okay.
I think I saw the bigger changes for your temporary services with the playground. With under the playgrounds and rec centers was the addition of the sport supervisor roles. And I'm assuming those are specifically for the rec center.
They'll be for the rec center,
Okay.
but as we expand programming and we have more kids playing for free in the city, and I think our numbers have gone up close to 40% in the past 2 or 3 years. We don't get a lot of volunteer coaches. We don't get a lot of dads. So we have people who have been in our program and now work for us, and they're teenagers, and it's a great little program that we have. And then we hire them back and they help coach our teams. Also with the decrease in umpires and officials, really nationwide, you don't have as many. We rely on these kids now to umpire our Little League games, to officiate flag football games and things like that. So as you'll see that we decreased our umpire official line. So we have to get umpires from somewhere, right? So that's some of those kids as well. So, like tonight we'll have flag football. I'll have 5 kids there tonight for a couple hundred kids playing flag football over at Conlon Field. And they help with skill development. They're trained by us. They have practice plans and all those types of things. And they've gone through the program, which is the beauty of it. And now they work for us, giving back to the kids. So it's a great thing that we have.
I like it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Councilman Kavanaugh, we just had a conversation at some point about like LUMA and other events and how they aren't broken out in the budget.
I was going to try.
In terms, I assume that's like in the overtime and all of that.
Yep.
But like for some of these bigger predictable events, it would be good to have the record keeping so that we understand our investment.
Right. That's probably 80% of our overtimes is due to events. We have staff on a ton of events throughout the course of the year. So the number for us overtime has actually gone down for tree call outs. I mean, I can't really say board ups because we do those all the time, but Mainly our overtime is used through events.
Do you want to keep going through your summary or do we want to go with questions? Or are you done with your summary?
No, still gotta go.
Okay, let's keep going.
Nothing real big. Our beaches and pools. We did decrease the overtime by $300. I think that's just, we didn't use it, right?
We haven't had enough staff to use it.
We did increase our equipment line because we need to replace some, basic use stuff. Jake, you know exactly what we need. So
We have some safety equipment that hasn't been updated since the mid-80s, that we just need to repurchase those. It also goes in with tubes. Our lifeguard tubes are starting to show some age. Last time we bought some was 2019. So we've waited 5 years. We've gotten 5 years out of them. We need to replace some of them. So that extra $2,000 in equipment line is for safety hooks, poles, cleaning nets, reaching poles, and lifeguard tubes.
Jake, do you want to touch on the AEDs?
No. And then we increased equipment and repairs and maintenance for AEDs, which is A7180544620. We have 8 AEDs right now that we use throughout the parks that are required to be used, and they require general maintenance annually. So the price of that has gone up, and so this will cover the cost of them for next year to be maintenance for the next coming season.
Okay. So those sit at the individual pools, and there's other ones that get used at the sports fields during sports. So
Yep.
how many of these do we have total and have to maintain?
Underneath this, under the Parks Department, we have 8. One for each pool. There's one at the senior center that sits there year round. There's one up at the Ely Park Golf Center. We have a spare that we use for events throughout the city, so we don't need to have one stationed at every single park. We will move it around as found necessary. And then there is
We have them stationed at the parks during the Little League season.
Okay, that's
And
what I
then
guess
those
I'm
go to
asking.
the pool.
Oh, okay, so
Right?
that
So
counts. You
we
don't have
wrap
to.
up and then, yeah, so
Okay.
we're trying to save, right? So
Right,
we're
of
gonna,
course,
yeah,
yeah.
we're buying 2 so that's reflected in the 840 that we're gonna get 2 more to make sure, but the spare right now travels with our football team. And yeah, so wherever we have stuff going on, like everything's going on at Conlon right now, we have the one
That's
at
great.
Conlon Field, right? So, but we share, there's not a designated, because we don't run programming at the same fields all year long. So when we know we have programming there, there's an AED there. And we make sure that our coaches at least, a lot of the coaches are already AED trained that are going to be with the kids, and those who aren't, they get offered it through work or whatever else. If not, then we're going to have to train some coaches in the coming year here.
which we can do that in-house.
Right. Okay.
So moving on to the adult recreation, we didn't really have any changes in there other than the youth programming that was ARPA funded money. That was used up, and that was spent towards $100,000 went to the Boys and Girls Club. 250,000 went to the Binghamton schools. Community Foundation was 500,000 and Lord's was 150,000. It was a $1 million total.
So I just want to comment on that. I think like that, I agree that that was a good use of good use of money for ARPA. I wish we could find money to have it be an annual thing that we're funding. Maybe not all the way to $1 million, but just to be able to continue to support other youth
Right.
programming throughout the city.
Mhm.
Because I think it's just beneficial. It's really positive for everybody. I'm preaching to the choir here, but it'd be nice to try to figure out how we can get that budget line to be permanent to some extent.
Yeah.
Really our, the adult recreation. We decreased our adult recreation line a little bit, just lower enrollment in the adult programming. We had some water volleyball and that kind of, and an adult volleyball, which we'll probably use with the rec center eventually. And then the senior center, we didn't really have any changes at all. That runs pretty smooth. That was all I had for bullet points.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Anyone want to start with questions, thoughts, concerns?
Got a question on page 92 with the gas and electric for the St. Mary's Rec Center. How did we come up with those numbers of 15,000?
I called them and said, all right, when you're running at full capacity, what does it usually look like? So I spoke to their business manager and their maintenance guy.
Okay.
So, and those, how I got those numbers.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, they're thinking, I always ask this question, is there anything here that you think you need or anything that you didn't get inside of the budget that is proposed? Is there something?
I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So no needs or anything?
Not this year, no.
Park system.
Yeah,
There was
really?
Not an ask.
No,
to
nothing,
want it.
really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's always
Well,
a turf field for Little League baseball would be nice, but no.
you gotta manifest whatever.
We want to think reachable stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah, if we need to really do a great job of taking care of what we already have,
Okay.
as opposed to going out and doing new things and taking
Understandable.
away from what we already have, right? So
the
this is,
things you have, you feel like you have enough of?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And when do we think St. Mary's, like everything will be done there?
Yeah, so hopefully we're in there to start our basketball, our youth basketball.
Okay.
That'll be the first thing that'll happen, and then we'll start bringing in like Little League baseball, softball
Awesome.
training, football training. So we're going to
Great.
give the kids somewhere to go at night for a specific skill per night. So
Nice.
it's not going to be like an open gym type situation. They'll still register on a rec desk. They'll have to have all the emergency contact and everything. And then we'll break it up into hour blocks where they can come and get instruction for. So what other municipalities kids pay for, we're going to give for free.
Thank you.
So that's hopefully that starts in November, but we like to be running full capacity by maybe tryouts in spring for Little League, where now it's going to be open in the morning for pickleball. We'll have some type of after school program for a little bit, and then the athletic training starts in the evening. So that hopefully springtime. That's
So
And I'm sorry, really quick before you say
No.
that, just keep us updated. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'd like to come and
Oh, sure.
be involved. So
Absolutely.
please, thank you.
And then any ideas yet for the non-gym space that's in there? There's a couple of classroom
Yep.
spaces. right?
So hopefully the after school programming would be at that first, right? That's where we would house some of that stuff. There is a kitchen. So Jake and I talked about bringing someone who knows, cooking or baking, and have the kids sign up for a cooking or a baking class in
So
the
the
kitchen.
plan is to maintain the commercial kitchen there, which is
Yes, for now, yeah.
that's wonderful.
Absolutely not. Yeah, we don't want to get rid of anything that's still working properly for sure.
And we plan to consolidate summer fun all into that building. So
So that'll be
Really-
where the classrooms get the most uses in the summer, because all of our summer fun programming will be in one place now.
Is that potential money saved? Do we pay the school district rent at this for when we use schools for summer
No,
fun?
so
or-
they use our facilities, we use their facilities, right? So they play their home baseball games at Conlon Field, so we did all our youth basketball at one of the middle schools. So it's an old agreement, and it's one that we can use. So we use Alumni Stadium for our football games on Sundays. So
Right.
it's kind of an agreement. We don't pay them anything though, no.
Okay. All right. I'll go if nobody has anything at the moment. Going back to page 86, under personnel services. Obviously the commissioner's job is listed as vacant. Is Nick, is there not a responsibility adjustment or anything for you or out of title pay or something or?
Yeah, I'm currently being paid what, the old commissioner was being paid. So yeah, out of title pay right now.
Okay. But we're not baking that into the budget at this point, apparently. For, like, okay. Now, last year there were,
To be
this
determined.
is a Chuck
Yeah,
question,
I was
I
gonna
think.
ask why, but
Right.
I'm a troublemaker.
There were, in last year's budget, there were a bunch of retention stipends built into different departments. Was that a one-time payout that, so this is kind of going to be a repeating question if,
Right, most of the retention stipends were paid out of ARPA funds.
okay.
So there's a few left, but not everybody's getting it. I think it's just the Teamsters.
Right. And it was not in their contract, or was in their contracts, but it came from ARPA money.
It's through 2026, and I think it is in the contract.
It's in the contract.
Okay.
Yes.
But there is one longevity still in here. That's different, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's per the union contract too. Some of them are different. CSEA is different, Teamsters is different. Usually I think it's at 15 years. One of the contracts gets $500 from 15 to 19, then 20 to 25.
Oh,
They
okay.
get 750 of years of service, continuous service in the city.
My next question is on the travel and training budget. It's been, you kept it at last year's level, which was 9650. The previous year you spent under 5,000. This year so far you've spent under 5,000. You have some specific trainings outlined. Are you planning to actually spend it this year?
Yeah, we will, because we have other certifications that have to be met by some of our staff. We have a certified arborist that has to take his test here. We have annual stuff that we have to do every year, so.
I appreciate that, but it's been
Pretty
under
close.
budget every year for some reason, it seems like. But so we promise to use it this year.
We'll send them for training.
Go to a conference. I mean, if you have a budget. Otherwise, I was going to recommend to cut it a little bit.
Mhm.
So let's see. So in the bands and concerts line, it's like the Rec Park Music Fest is just like straight up $5,000. Is that some of that used for overtime and stuff? Is that a money out to them, or how does that, what is that? 5,000. I was under band concerts, page 87. Rec Park Music Fest, 5,000.
Oh, yeah.
That is for the performers that perform at the Rec Park Music Fest. So those are for the checks that are cut out to each individual performance.
City sponsored events.
Okay, I knew we sponsored, I didn't know actually that's how the performers got paid. Okay. And then the holiday carousel rides are to provide staffing for that.
That is for musical performances.
Oh, it's also,
as well.
it's at a
Yep.
band concert. So obviously, all right, this makes, yeah, okay, makes sense. Yeah, all right. So, and then we have another line for the sleigh ride and stuff that they rent for that, right? Yes.
It's in
right.
personal.
That, yeah, that's on 86.
Okay. All right. Now, other questions.
So much fun.
Going to page 89. Carousel maintenance, if we look back a few years ago, that used to be under the capital budget. And it was moved, I think, 1 or 2 years ago as just an operating thing. And at that $20,000 level. And I think we have a specific company that comes in and does that maintenance. And is that budget sufficient? They use that amount every year, it seems like. I mean, what's the deal? But it's something we used to put in the capital budget for some reason.
They come, I don't know why it was moved. I wasn't here for that, when it was moved from capital to
Just
regular.
to your main budget, yeah.
But they come in and they look around the carousel at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, depending on when we require maintenance, and they say we can do this for this amount of money. So that is what that comes from. It's for There's a lot of maintenance that goes on in the carousel. There's a lot of wear and tear. So it's for paint chipping, horses breaking, the feet break off very easily. It's for other stuff that may need just general maintenance on the carousel itself or carousels.
It's old and fragile.
Page 93. So we just dealt with this at a business meeting, but the inclement weather adjustment. How is that looking next year versus this year? We had an awfully nice summer. Did we check the Farmer's Almanac?
We did increase it.
We did increase it. We increased it to $225,000. We did general calculations. We shifted some rates around, and adjusted hours to do some calculations for 100% of operations. If we're open every single day, all day long, and part-time as we are in June, we did an entire summer calculation. And then, finance team did a calculation for the weather-related closures at the bottom, which is roughly around, is it 45%? No, not 45, sorry.
I hope it's not that bad.
I think it's 20%, sorry.
Sorry, that page is here. Okay. Going to page 98, the senior center. So I know you said not much has changed, but we had a change last year in that there was a new position created that was a county position that's now a city position, but it's being paid for by the county. Is that continuing?
Yeah.
And is that revenue, I'm sure, is reflected somewhere in the revenue line, Chuck? But how's that been going?
Yes, it's going to be in other revenue from our general, other revenue, other governments.
Okay, so what we see is a $75,000 adjusted budget. 30-some thousand of that is still the recreation leader position. 31,000 is actually being compensated by the county.
Yes.
They're paying that salary, and I think we pick up the pennies.
Yes, that is correct.
But that's going well, and it's going to continue. Is it a yearly thing that's being, or do we have a longer term contract?
Yeah, it seems to be working out good.
Yearly. Let's see. You're getting a new truck. I can't remember. Is that in a capital or not? What line is that? I didn't write the line.
Yeah, it's under capital.
It's under capital. All right.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten. All right. And we talked about chlorine already. Those are all my questions. Anyone from the floor?
Yeah, I had back on page 88 under your temporary services. Can you just explain the laborers line you got?
So at the Parks Garage, we have typically 10 to 12 summer help laborers, kids that are home from the school for the summer. They come to help out the mowing crews. So we employ them throughout the summer. We also have 2 retirees that work at the garage. One helps with the facility and the other one helps water the beautiful plants that are scattered around the city.
So yeah, when I was first looking at that, the code violations popped out at me, and I thought there's a full-time position for somebody that's boarding up houses, but I'm glad that's not the case.
Right. He takes great pride in watering them flowers.
There's had something else here. I think you had. No, I can't find where it is, but you had somewhere there was like tree planting services. I can't remember if it was going up or down or if it didn't exist anymore. But do we still have a tree replanting program for the city trees?
We do. It's, where's our tree? 88? Haven't got to yet. Zeroed out, isn't it? Oh, are you talking the professional services line? Or our tree planting line? It's zeroed out.
Yeah, I think,
I think it's in the capital line.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
capital money and we also have grant funding coming for, we'll plant this fall. And then we're gonna plant again in the spring. So yeah, we definitely have money to plant.
okay. You already have the mapped out which places you're gonna go, you're
We
still
have a
taking?
request service or, people call in and request, to have the tree planted. So we typically try to, take care of them first if there's a sufficient area for planting. Provided that there's not underground utilities where they want it and whatnot, because we're trying to avoid planting around the utilities anymore.
Makes sense.
We like to fill up our parks as well and replace. We took down upwards of almost 400 ash trees in the city. So we need, it's not all gonna happen at once, but we do need to replace.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the main pages of their budget? All right, let's look at capital improvements. Let's open capital improvements on 225 then. Okay, Nick?
So most of our capital stuff is annual. The equipment repair is anticipated through auction costs of 224.
I wonder if he was looking at. You were saying something. That it's not 500. Oh, okay. That's what he's saying. It's not. Okay.
Oh, the Ross Park parking lot.
Well, it's truck.
Oh,
He's
Looking for the
Where's the
truck.
truck?
224.
224.
Oh, it's back a page, sorry. All right, we need to open the capital pages on 224 and 225. There we go. There it is. Sorry. 224 and 225. Okay. Sorry, I was only looking 225. All right. So do you want to go through those? Sorry.
So our equipment there is anticipated on auction. Taking in some of our stuff, getting rid of our old stuff at auction. Hopefully that's kind of anticipated on what we bring in, right, Chuck? Yeah. Our discovery centers and Ross Park improvements, we do that annually per lease. We give them $10,000 to help with their facilities and however they need to spend it.
I don't think the roof on that stone building has been fixed yet, has it? No. It's one of my pet peeves.
That'll be a little more than $10,000. Carousel improvements, that's annual as well, and there's a lot of money to be spent on these carousels, so.
So that's separate from the $20,000 maintenance thing we
That
do. This
is.
is another chunk of money.
Yeah, because if something breaks on that, we have the band organ, we have to upkeep. Also, we're anticipating on Ross Park carousel being up and running at some point next year. Go ahead.
Most of the parts that are on the carousel, you can't just go and buy anymore. So some of those pieces, if they break, they have to be hand forged or hand sourced. So it's kind of there as a, thank God. Here. A few years ago, the Ross Park Carousel main gear shaft cracked in half. And it had to be hand forged. It's a 10-foot wide piece of iron gear that needs to be hand built for that specific carousel itself. It's not like that one can go on Ross Park and Ross can go on Rec and Rec can go on Highland. They're all individual, so they all need to be handmade specifically for that. So it's for instances of such.
Carousel, all right, pool improvements.
Our pool improvements.
You're not getting much for 10 grand there either, I don't think.
Nah,
Yeah,
Bigger.
same thing. Our pools are aging rapidly, so it's just there as an emergency resource for when things go wrong. It's more of a when, not an if.
So you find, so we don't see on here, we don't see a spend down of these. Maybe that's a report you could generate.
Well, yes, we can provide that.
How much
Everything
of this
that-
do you touch every year, do you think?
quite a bit. I mean,
Pools,
this year's been pretty good, but we had to replace a couple of pumps this year, which were pretty expensive, so.
As our pools get older, they'll need more maintenance as well. Both Lindsay and Webster are all operating on their original filtration systems from the 1950s. So as pieces start to go, we'll need to replace those as well.
Built to last.
1950?
1950s?
Yes. If you'd like a tour of those places, I can take you around.
Pardon me, I'm not sure if you guys know that all the items on here that are A's, that have an A in front of them, those are usually our annual transfers from the general fund. So these are annual things that if $25,000, they don't spend that this year, we put another 25,000, maybe they've got 40,000 next year, and something big breaks, they have the money to fix it instead
So
of.
some of these, so they're, I'm not saying there is, but there could be $100,000 in the carousel account if it's there. I mean,
That's a
I'm not-
possibility,
But just as an
I'm not
example,
sure.
In the
Right.
perfect world.
But we can give you
a
a
report
breakdown.
of the,
on
yes,
these.
that'd be nice to have.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Just in case we haven't been planting enough plant, street and park trees. Maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, all right, so pool improvements, plant, street and park trees. What pool deck are we replacing?
That is
Rec
a
Park pool, that's part of the grant that we
That's
got.
part of the 200 and whatever.
That's our
That's on top
20%
of that.
match.
Okay, oh, 20% match. All right. And then there's the truck for $85,000. So last year you folks got 2 trucks
That's correct.
and now we're getting a 3rd truck. How many trucks total? What's kind of the age on the trucks? What are we looking at
I think we
replacement
have
wise?
23 vehicles.
23?
I believe so.
So how many with plows?
10.
10? So you got 10 plow trucks.
And this one's gonna come equipped with a plow, so we'll add an 11th.
Okay. Oh, so this is not specifically replacing one going out of service necessarily.
It's going to replace what, the issue is this truck's, old, rusted, it's high mileage, but it's still functioning. Currently, our, small engine repair maintenance guy is driving around an old cop car. So what we're trying to do here is slide this over to him, so he has a utility vehicle to, put his tools, air
Something with a bed.
compressor, whatnot in. And then our carpenters will get this new vehicle. They need the utility vehicle as well. And we'll be able to use both of them for plowing snow.
Okay. And, okay. Thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns, ladies and gentlemen, anything? Yeah, we were in capital, so yes, 224, 225.
Tell us everything about these three items you got here on 225, the Ross Park parking lot, the Marabito, Ely Park.
Well, if you've been up to the Ross Park Zoo lately, the parking lot is in shambles and crumbling, so it needs to be replaced. And I believe this is for the lower parking lot, correct? the
Do you think this
Marabito-
will cover the full cost of that bottom parking lot? Or
we hope so.
portion of it?
Mhm. And then the Marabito Stadium fencing, I'm not so sure on that one. Sorry, Megan.
Come on up, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks. The Marabito Stadium fencing is something that MLB and the Rumble Ponies flagged. It's a safety issue, so it's just it's a city-owned stadium, so something we'll have to fix to keep them in line with MLB standards.
This is not, we had to do netting, right, this past year?
Yes, it's
This is-
similar in that I believe MLB is
Requiring.
requiring or highly suggesting, if not requiring.
I was under the impression, I think the last thing I heard the mayor say regarding our MLB standards is that we were exceeding their expectations. Or
They
that-
do it like not inspections every year, but there's usually something every year that needs to be upgraded or fixed. It's an old stadium, so.
I think a lot of that comment had to do with the improvements to the player
Okay.
facilities and the umpire facilities and the hopefully stopping of the
being good.
flooding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and these are safety improvements now, so.
Yeah, Rachel was just saying that it's the fencing along the back where there are the signs right now that it's basically like falling and not usable for much longer.
Okay.
And the money for Ely Park upgrades, improvements, that's basically, we want to start from the top and work our way down now. We
Yeah.
want to replace the roofs up there so they're not leaking on our $100,000 kitchen that we just
Yeah.
put in.
So we're going to hold, at the deputy mayor's request, we're going to hold Ely Park and Golf Fund discussions, I think, until, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Chris Tran can come down.
Yep.
So we'll do a joint thing to cover, we'll not do the pages for Ely Park and
Correct.
Golf Fund. So that's gonna be, we need to exclude those at the moment. Yeah, because that's the roof he's about to talk about. Yes, thank you. So we'll hold off on those specific things. Is that all right? And you're willing to come back that evening? I think we're trying to hammer out what day he can come back. He can come down and explain golf things.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So all right, so jumping back to page 88, temporary services. You explain what that is and the folks you have coming in to do maintenance, and that's maintenance, some of the parks maintenance and the watering of the plants, and when you have to do some code stuff, right?
Yes.
Some code.
Yep, we use our summer help temporary employees. We use them for everything. They help out the mowing crews.
So those folks at this time of year are done, are mostly done.
Yep.
And you've spent $30,000 on them this year. You'd spent $56,000 in 2023. So even if you continue spending at the current rate, you'd be a little over $40,000
Right.
out of a $72,000 ask. A very specifically weird $72,472 this year, $72,240. Where is that number? How'd we come up with that number?
I think that's if we're at full capacity. So we would love to have more apply than applied. This year, we only had 10 applications.
Okay,
So we would love to have more people on those crews. Because we do have so many code violations and they help with the pools and everything else. But when you don't get the applicants, you know what I mean?
all right,
Go ahead.
okay.
Also, it depends on who we hire that year, because they are mostly youth for the most majority of them. Depends on where they're at in their time of life, whether they can work full time, whether they're going to school, all that. So this is a calculation on them working the full summer, but that doesn't pan out every year as it is. But this is just expecting every single employee that we hire to work the whole summer in case they do.
Okay.
What point during the year do you know for sure that we're not gonna have enough applicants? We're not, like. One of the things that's kind of kept coming up with council is that, we feel like we kind of get the information well after the fact, when it seems like we should be one of the first stops.
Right, it's really, we try to get them in the spring to see when they can come, but it's just a matter of when they get their applications and we get the paperwork filled out, getting kids in to fill out their paperwork, so.
We typically open applications around end of February, middle to end of February, and then they're kept open through July for the most part, depending on position wise. So it just depends on when the kids roll their applications in. We reach out when we do open up applications and let all previous employees know, hey, applications are open. If you're looking to return. We offer first come, first served basis for returning applicants. And then we'll start going for new hires. We'll take those simultaneously as they come in, but we do open it up for them and it's open for X amount of time. I mean, I'll have lifeguards I email in February and they're reaching out to me in June for a job.
Okay, so following that question, I would like to make a motion to reduce temporary services line A7110.51800 by $5,240 down to $67,000. In light of fact that this doesn't get used every year and seems to be trending down in use, unfortunately, and would hope and look forward to the day that Parks comes and says, hey, we need more money because we've hired 20 kids instead of 10. But anyway, that's my motion.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
Okay. 7, 6, 12. Okay. Couple weird questions. We have, and this is maybe a general question. The senior center has 2 alarm companies. We have Spectrum Security, I'm sorry, we're page 99, and United Alarm. And I've seen some other alarm contracts across the city. Have we ever tried to unify this, or are they for different types of alarms, or am I just giving Chuck a headache?
That would probably be something I would have to talk to City Hall, Kevin McDevitt.
Okay, just I don't know.
Yeah, one should be fire, one should be security, right?
And another thing, it's a general question again that's popping up across the budget. We have a lot of fire alarm inspection testing and fire extinguisher testing. Is there any way we could get anyone in the fire department certified or interested in doing this across the city? They can make the probationary guys do it? I don't know. Like, it seems like it would be a nice little savings across the city and be a real help that the fire department could provide. I will suggest that to the chief when he's here, but I just wonder if anyone has ever come up or any thought or any.
No, we typically use Action Fire.
Everyone in Broome County uses Action Fire, I think,
Yeah,
but
I know, they're in the right business.
okay. And then my other senior center comment is they don't seem to ever use their office supply budget up and their general repair budget. Also, they don't seem to use it. But you folks, you guys aren't really down there personally, right? So it's no, like,
I'm there whenever the senior center director is out. I'll fill in for her position. I can try and use more as office supplies when I'm there. But no, they operate as need. And I think it's just one of those things where if they need something, they'll use that. We did just start using, I know they'll have a printing of brochures. They just revamped their brochure. That was something that stopped happening before, predates all of us. So they revamped it and they're looking to roll it out in the next, we just printed out like 100. So then they'll revamp it with a new board that comes out for the senior center. So I know they will be utilizing some of that for printing services next year.
okay. Let's see. You guys have a fee schedule too. I believe, although I don't think there's any changes. Page 230, please. If we open up the fee schedules. Mostly seems to be for t-shirts, bathing suits, and Little League and football sponsorships. And everyone's okay with those prices and no changes and.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see the piece of litter for getting on a carousel in here. All right.
I've seen zero enforcement of that. As someone who rides the carousel over and over and over.
Okay. So no changes to that. So we would adopt it as written. Yeah. Taking away my fun, Bob. All right. Any other thoughts, feelings, questions, or concerns?
I just want to circle back to the travel and training.
Okay.
It looks like in the last 3 years, we haven't spent anywhere near the amount that we're budgeting for. I mean, we even decreased the line $2,000 this year. So I'd like to make a motion on line A7020544701 to decrease from 9,650 to 6,000 to contingency.
Before we second, can you explain why? Is there a reason?
Everything's not annual, with our guys. Like I said, even with my certification, our certified arborist certification, I have to have 30 credits within 3 years. So we're constantly doing continuing education credits. But not every one of them's like that. So
And if we made a decrease, would it hurt you in any way?
I think we'd probably be okay.
Sure.
And just to clarify, that motion was to reduce the amount to 6,000, not to send 6,000 to contingency.
Reduce it to 6,000.
So that's minus 3650.
Second.
I'll second. It's the motion by Councilman Costi to reduce A7020.54701 travel and training by $3,650, taking it to 6,000 even, right? All right. We have a motion by Councilman Costi, seconded by me. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
No.
Middleton. Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 4-1.
So, in my personal opinion, much like hiring all the kids in the park, if you guys want to go to a bunch of stuff, come and give us a lovely presentation. I'm sure we can try and scrape up the money. So, but I think this falls, again, looking back, I appreciate that not everything is every year. But I think looking back, this is within well within kind of a margin of error for what you've been spending. So,
Okay.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? No?
I'll
Do
make-
we have more questions?
Can't remember all.
I'll make the motion to move pages 86 through 94 and 97 through 99.
All right, and that leaves
As
out,
amended.
as amended, thank you. And that leaves out Ely Park, right?
There's still
And
two
golf.
twenty-five, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, 225 is still open.
Hmm?
Okay,
Okay, all right, good, okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, motion by Councilman Costi, to pass all the parks pages as he outlined, second by Councilwoman Middleton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton. Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That it's 5-0.
Yeah, let's do, okay. Is there a motion? I mean, we can go line by line, I think. We need to.
225.
Went through the capital project, except the Ely Park, or just wait through them all after we hear about it?
I thought it was, eggnog.
Anyway. Okay, is there a motion on the floor to accept the capital projects minus the Ely Park improvements line?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion from Councilman Costi to approve the Parks Capital projects on all of them on page 224. And let's see, Ross Park parking lot and Marlboro Stadium fencing on page 225. This excludes the Ely Park improvements, which will be discussed when the golf representative can be here. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
No.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
We still have to go back through all the capital improvements at a separate date, so it's,
It's just that part, right?
yeah,
That's what I thought.
aye.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh. Okay, thank you. That's 4-1.
I was just, my vote was related to wanting the annual transfers and the history on that, since we didn't get that yet. Please provide that and I will
You'll get
not
that.
be grumpy. Thank you.
Okay, and then finally, just for the sake of being symmetrical, is there a motion to approve the park's unchanged fee schedule for next year?
I'll make
On
the
page
motion.
230. Thank you. There's a motion by Councilman Costi to approve the fee schedule for the Parks Department on page 230. Is there a second?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton is absent. Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 4-0.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for coming down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we're truly, I think, all looking forward to the work at the rec center and seeing what's going on there. It's going to be exciting.
Motion for a bio break.
Motion for a personal hygiene break by Councilwoman Matavetsky. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Let's take 5, folks.
Okay.
Crazy jump. Get us a good deal on a pickup truck? No.
Okay, we're back from commercial break. I'd like to welcome down familiar face, Chuck Robinson, the comptroller, to discuss the finance budget. So I'd like to open pages 19 and 20 and the capital improvements pages 224 and 225.
Hello again.
Give us your summary, please.
Sure. In the finance budget, A 1310, the total budget increased by $5,939.29, which is about 1.2%. We had a slight decrease to overtime based on past usage and anticipated need. In our travel and training of 45,701, we had a slight decrease due to anticipated needs. And in 45,702, a slight decrease to subs, dues, and memberships. We had to pay for purchasing to do some training a couple of years ago, and we moved that to the purchasing department. But I don't think she needs to do the training, so it might not be in her line as well. You want to just talk about the capital budget, or do you just want to wait?
Let's wait.
Okay.
So top line question, I think, is the top line of the budget. So you had your overall budget is up $5,900, but the adjusted 2024 budget was $65,000 more than the adopted original. What's that discrepancy, and where to come from, where to go?
Are you talking about just in personal services
Yes,
or
yeah.
overall?
No, in the personal services.
In 2024?
Yeah.
In 2024, well, Chuck, previous comptroller is no longer here. and his payouts in that line.
That,
And I got a significant raise, and we also hired an assistant comptroller. And it's a significant raise from before.
okay.
So that's the personal services why it went up.
But I'm,
so
so
much.
I'm guessing, so the change from the 413 to 419 is bringing the permanent adjustment for the assistant comptroller
Yes,
probably.
Yeah,
And
it was a
that, that chunk, the other chunk is,
it's more
the
or
other
less a
chunk is
why.
Chuck. Yeah, all right. Okay, that explains that. And, all right. And I guess that's the practice. You put the payouts in that line. It's not some sort of separate lump sum retirement time.
We tried to do payouts in the lines that they
that they-
are
Okay,
paid out of, typically, if we can.
all right. No, that explains it.
There's one thing there's one thing I did want to mention. This is the furniture line, in 1310-52200. This is the furniture line I was discussing earlier. Right now it only has $5,000 in it. Just based on the past few months, we haven't had a lot of requests for items, maybe a few chairs here or there. So I just kept it pretty low with that 5,000 for next year.
There's been
So
an,
if I understood that, like, if a department needs furniture, they contact you and it comes out of your budget line. They don't have their own budget line for furniture.
Yes, that was a move the previous comptroller did, and I'm going to continue it for a year to see how it works.
So let's see, the auditing line for the financial report, $50,000, is that kind of a standard cost? Do we have an ongoing contract for that?
Yes, it's for the auditing services for the audit for the city that I just completed. Should be filed here in a couple days. And the other ones are also for physical advisor services. I'm sorry, not physical advisors. I take that back. For the GASB evaluation, we have to do a full one every 2 years. And it's for the audit for other post-employment benefits and pension liability. It's an unfunded mandate by the state, but we have to report it on our financial statements.
Any other questions from the floor?
what's the ACA reporting that you have under the auditing services?
That is, I believe it's from the American CARES Act. It's where we're required to report that you have health insurance. It's that form you get in the mail. I think that says it's like a 1095. You have to say you have the health insurance. It was under the Obama plan. I believe. That's what that is. Yep.
But what have you used the temporary service line for previously that you haven't used this year?
The temporary services line, we use that. We had a longtime employee that worked in our department. And when she left, we needed her experience and her expertise to help train the new payroll clerk and a new benefits clerk at the beginning of this year during the transition with all the benefit packages, payroll related items for salary changes, what have you. That was the main thing. Tax forms, we have to file 941s, 1099s. She was basically a jack of all trades in the department. And it's possible we may need her again at the end of this year just for a little bit to help us through some rough patches with some changes because we had a lot of changes with upgrades. And we can also use this for another person that recently retired that has a little bit more expertise in financial matters.
Thank you.
I guess we might as well look at the printing line, which has a zero in it so far for this year. Has almost 4,000 last year and only 1,800 going forward.
Right. I usually wait till the end of the year to see what my printing stock looks like, and then I'll order it at the end of the year. It might be coming up in like November. I haven't looked at it yet, but I'll have my clerk look at it and see where the stock stands. And sorry, and also for the W-2s and the 1099s, the IRS doesn't come out with their form until very late in the year. So until they finalize their W-2s for the end of this year, we can't order those forms to get them printed. We usually order them about right now.
Is there a motion? Oh, no, actually, no, we have two capitals, sorry. I'm gonna move to page 224 and 225. Oh, sorry. Oh, somebody said something. Okay. All right, 224. All right, finance, Marabou Stadium improvements through Bureau.
Yes, that is a contractual agreement we have through Bureau. We pay Bureau this $30,000 for their annual payments for the repairs at the Marabou Stadium. It's just an additional set of repairs that we help them do the maintenance at the stadium.
So that's another one of these annual fund things.
Yes, it is.
And there could be money sitting in Bureau's account, although I'm guessing probably not. They probably use it up.
Not much. They've spent as I just finished their financials. I don't remember the numbers what they have right now, but come to a Bureau meeting next week and you can find out.
Okay. And then 225 is the fiscal agent fees. And I think we've talked about these during bond season
Yes.
and what they mean, but would you give us a brief overview?
These are the actual bond fees and fiscal agent fees that we pay the bond attorneys and the fiscal advisors for doing our bonds and bans. They are split up between the funds based on what projects we are banning for. So this is based on a percentage of what sewer projects we have going out, water, and general fund and parking ramps. And it's based on a percentage of the projects that you're authorizing for us to go through.
And obviously that's the thing that gets paid as they're doing their work.
Yes,
They
after the bonding period in April, we usually start getting bills. We pay for the printing also, that comes out of that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Folks? Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to move pages 19 and 20.
Councilman Costi motions to pass pages 19 and 20. Is there a second?
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton. Aye. Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Excellent. Is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion to close pages 224 and 225.
Motion by
You can't.
Finance part?
It's only the finance part.
Yes. Yep, the finance part.
just the finance line.
Just
So-
the
Finance lines for pages 224 and 225.
I second.
All right. So motion on the floor by Councilman Hotchkiss to close the finance line on page 224, which is the Marabou Stadium improvements, and on 225, which are the fiscal agent fees. Seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton. Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have made it through our first night of budget meetings.
Chairman,
Thank you all so much. Thank you for your
Chairman.
effort. Oh, I'm sorry.
there's
Mr.
a
Costi.
fee on page 228. I don't know
Oh,
if you
look
want to
at
go over
the
that.
fees that we're not changing. Thank you, Councilman Costi.
Uh-oh.
228.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Are we changing any fees, Mr. Comptroller? Look at that. Okay, we should raise that, actually. All right. Welcome back.
No, I'm not raising that fee right now.
What?
I'm not raising the fee, but you're welcome to.
$228. No, it's. I don't know. I know.
Can you explain what that is exactly?
Sure. It's the rollover fee that we charge for each parcel that is an unpaid bill as of November, as of the ones that we roll over and put on people's taxes for unpaid water bills, garbage violations and property cleanups and avoidable alarms if they don't pay as well. So you don't pay your water bill for a year. And if it's not paid on a certain date, it goes to the county, puts on your water on your bill plus $100, and we get the $100 back, and it's in the comptroller fee line in the revenue section of the budget.
Motion to adopt the fee.
Motion by Councilman Costi. Yes, sir.
Sorry, may I make a
Yes.
suggestion? I think when the treasurer was here, I don't think you did his line in
We
the
did.
fee schedule, or did you
But
did?
no, we didn't do the treasurer's fee.
Okay.
But now I'm thinking about raising the return check fee. $20 is pretty low these days.
I suggested that to him, but he wanted to keep it at $20 because he said he made a call to other municipalities, and I'm speaking for him right now. And it's about $20, even at the banks.
Do we
Still.
know what the charge is? Do we get a charge from our bank?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. He wanted to change the description to returned item fee instead of return check fee.
Obviously, it could be ACH or
Yes,
something.
because we get returned items, credit cards that people pay online, debits from debit
Okay.
cards. And he wants to call it an returned item fee.
Do you want to
so
do
we
some more
can-
work, Councilman Costi? Do you want to amend the name of the treasurer's fee? All right, fine. We'll go in the order. We have a motion on the table.
Motion the comptroller fee.
The only possible thing would be double checking and making sure what our code says regarding that. I don't know I'd have to look at where it comes from in our code. So if we want to put a pin in,
The treasurer fee?
yes,
Okay.
for now, just to make sure that we're all buttoned up across the board on it.
All right, I'm going to do that. So, all right, we'll come back. We'll put a pin in treasurer's fee. So we're back to the motion on the table from Councilman Costi to approve for another year, the comptroller's rollover fee of $100. Motion by Councilman Costi. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Middleton. Would the clerk or call the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
I think I was gonna say, I wouldn't be opposed to raising it maybe in the future, but if it's attached to somebody's water bill, that's like picking somebody when they're down, sort of.
So
I don't,
have,
some of the other the things that it's related to seemed
I just occurred,
Traceable.
the way it's worded, per item, per parcel, per item. We're in the middle of a
Correct.
vote.
That's correct.
So if you had a garbage fee of $35, you're gonna charge $100 to have that rolled over. And if your water bill's late, you're gonna get another $100.
We
roll
don't
that.
roll anything over, I think it's $100. Anything under $100, we don't roll.
Okay,
So if your bill, let's say if you have water bill, it's $100. And then you have a garbage violation, that's $100. And a property cleanup, that's $100. You're gonna get a $600 bill on your tax. $100 plus the $100 fee, $100 plus a $100 fee, $100 plus a $100 fee. It's per each parcel. Per item. And if you're a homeowner or a multiple homeowner and you have 5 properties with 5 violations, each property is going to get the $100 plus whatever the charge was that we roll to the taxes.
okay. Now I want to talk about this, but we're literally in the middle of a vote.
Aye is my vote.
Oh, okay. I'm
In
gonna vote
favor.
nay now, but it doesn't do any good.
That's 4-1.
Okay. It is adopted.
Mention that since you voted nay, if you want.
Oh, yeah. So now I'm thinking maybe we should raise the fee a little bit, but also just make it one flat rollover fee. Like, how much work is it is it more work for you to roll over 2 or 3 things than it is to roll over one, or it's just one sort of?
We,
or no?
the treasurer does this. So, we do garbage violations first. Then we do property cleanups. Avoidable alarms, there's probably only 5. And then the last thing we roll to the county is water and sewer bills. It's a process.
Okay,
But once we get the list and it's all downloaded into an Excel format, it's easy to just pop in $100 and we send the file to the county. So it's one spreadsheet for water sewer bills. It's one spreadsheet for that. Whether you're on both sheets, no sheets, 2 sheets, it's still $100 for this one, $100 for this one, and $100 for this one. So, I mean, the amount is irrelevant because we just put it on the spreadsheet.
Right.
So it's going to be the same for every parcel. It's by tax map ID.
okay. All right, so we did pages 19, 20, pages 22, 24, and 225, and now we have done the fee, and we're going to hold off on the treasurer's fee for return checks or returned items that next time. So now, thank you. Motion to adjourn from Councilman Hotchkiss, second from Councilman Costi, all in favor.
Aye.
Have a good evening, everybody.